Hey scholars, welcome to section 10.2, looking at how should we now manage and sustain forests now that we know a little bit more about forests from 10.1. So let's take a look at some of the things that what we know we can do. Sustainable forests, what they do to keep intact sustainable forestry itself is identify and protect forest areas of high biodiversity, like old growth forests. We rely more on selective cutting and strip cutting in SEPA instead of clear cutting. And we definitely don't do any clear cutting on steep slopes because that could have major impact as far as mudslides and landslides. No logging of old growth forests. That's again going back to bullet number 1, maintaining areas of high biodiversity. Sharply reducing road building into uncut forests because we know when we build roads, more forest is lost. Leave most standing dead trees and fallen timber for wildlife habitat and nutrient recycling because forests need those fallen trees as far as the decomposers go to maintain balance in the ecosystem. Also, plant tree plantations primarily on already deforested land and degraded land, not taking out new, or already established forests to make and then to monoculture the crops within that area. And then certified timber grown on sustainable methods, and also include ecological services of forests and estimating their economic value. So when we look at it, remember we talked about ecological services and putting money values to it. If we did that more often, we might find them that those ecological values are more valuable than you really think. One other thing we can improve is the management of forest fires. And back in the day, you guys, maybe this is before your time, but Smokey the Bear educational campaigns were on commercials and signs, Smokey the Bear all the time. Now I don't see too much of him anymore. He's also changed his slogan slightly, where he used to say only you can prevent forest fires, and I believe he says something slightly different now, where I think he says only you can prevent wildfires, which is a difference. There's a difference between forest fires and prescribed fires and wildfires, fires like crown fires we talked about last section. So prescribed fires are a good thing if they're maintained and controlled. Allow fires on public lands to burn as long as it doesn't affect different people's lives or their homes, and protect structures in fire-prone areas by either clearing trees around a house or around a structure at a certain distance to make sure that the fire doesn't jump onto those homes, and thin forests in fire-prone areas as well, so that way if the undergrowth does catch on fire, it doesn't jump up to the tops of trees causing crown fires. So there's a couple of things we can do just to improve management of forest fires themselves. But remember, fires are a good thing. They do some good things for us. We also can improve the management of forest fires through this 2003 Healthy Forest Restoration Act, and that basically said that companies are allowed to cut down economically valuable medium-sized and large trees in 71% of the country's national forest in return for clearing away the smaller, more fire-prone underneath or growth. And so that's the pro, is that Healthy Restoration Act allowed companies to do that, because that not only do they obviously get some benefit in cutting down some medium-sized trees, maybe even some large-sized trees, but they also cleared out the little stuff too, which keeps our forests really more healthy as far as fires go. The cons of this, though, is that they weren't really made to actually prescribe burns after completing the thing process. They just kind of cleared their stuff out and were gone, and so that was one of the big cons of this act. One of the science-focused sections is on certifying sustainably grown timber, and Collins Pines is a company. It's owned and manages a large area of productive timberland in the northwestern part of the United States. And the SCS, or the Scientific Certification System, which is actually a nonprofit with the Forest Stewardship Council, has developed a list of environmentally sound practices that they evaluate different forestry companies on. And they either then certify your timber or they don't certify based on what type of forestry methods are you using. And the reason why we talk about Collins Pines is that each year they do an evaluation of Collins Pines, and they have found that it does not, their cutting methods have not exceeded long-term forest regeneration, roads and harvesting systems do not cause unreasonable ecological damage, and soils are not damaged, and down wood and standing dead trees are left by wildlife habitat. So they actually are certified as certified timber and lumber with their forest methods that they use at Collins Pines. We can reduce the demand for tree harvesting by improving the efficiency of wood use as a fuel source. We could make, instead of cutting down trees to make paper, we could use quinoa, which looks like this, a very, very fast-growing plant, kind of like in the similar species of bamboo. Hemp could be used, maybe even kudzu that we talked about as an invasive species last chapter in chapter 9. So those are all maybe could be better ways. Instead of harvesting trees and old growth forests, we can use maybe faster growing trees or plants for the use of wood as a fuel source and for paper. One of the case studies talks about deforestation and the fuelwood crisis. Possible solutions for this are establish small plantations of fast-growing fuelwood, again, trees and shrubs that might grow fast. We can cut them down, replant them again. They grow up pretty quickly for use of fuelwood. Burn wood more efficiently as far as what our wood stoves are concerned, and solar or wind generate electricity in some of those areas as well. South Korea, they talk about as a model for successive reforestation, and the reason why they talk about this is that it says, right in your book here, it says South Korea is a global model for successful reforestation following the severe deforestation during the war between North and South Korea, which ended in 1953. Today, forests cover almost 2/3 of the country, and tree plantations near villages supply fuel wood on a sustainable basis. So they've obviously given some credit to South Korea because they did replant even after a large war between the North and South of that once united country. Governments and individuals can act to reduce tropical deforestation. Again, governments themselves can reduce fuel wood demand by switching other fuel sources, practice small-scale sustainable agriculture in forestry and tropical forests, debt for nature swaps, which is a way that the government basically says that, hey, if you guys, as a country, will provide, kind of be like a janitorial service and kind of just make sure that those forests stay intact, we'll, as far as your debt goes, we'll kind of waive some of that debt as far as national debt for your country if you do that for us. Using general logging methods, maybe even buying certified lumber and wood products, governments can do as well as far as their building and theirs is concerned. One other individuals matter section is about a young woman named Wangari Maathai, and basically, or Mathari, and what she has done is literally created a Greenbelt movement. 1977, and it became a self-help group for women in Kenya who obviously were dealing with, dealing with poverty and trying to replant. And they basically came up with a successful tree planting. Let me read you a little bit out of this one. She says, by 2004, 50,000 members of this grassroots group had established 6,000 village nurseries and planted and protect more than 30 million trees. And she started this in 1977, kept it going. In 2004, she was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for her works with this Greenbelt movement and self-help group in women in Kenya. So pretty cool little individuals matter there, Wangari Maathai. And then some solutions to our problems. Prevention, obviously, is protect the most diverse and endangered areas of forest, educate settlers about sustainable agriculture and forestry because they're the ones living and utilizing that land, protect forests within debt for nature swaps and conservation concessions, as well as certify sustainably grown timber, reducing poverty, and slowing population growth. Those are all preventative methods in sustaining tropical forests or forests in general. And reforestation or restoration would be encouraging regrowth through secondary succession by leaving it alone, letting it grow by itself, rehabilitating degraded areas, then allowing them to catch on with secondary succession. And the last one, concentrate farming and ranching in already cleared areas. Don't clear out more areas to do your farming. That brings us to section 10.2. We'll see you guys next time.